last meeting and he was here. Yeah.
Oh, was he here?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you weren't
I
here
wasn't
either.
here either.
He looked pretty tired when
Yeah.
last time.
He looked exhausted. I forgot that.
Yeah, nobody was
half
here.
you guys were here. The cool ones were here.
I was working. Playing in the snow.
I have no idea where I'm at.
You're in Grand Junction.
I've been all over the place, so. Oh, somewhere.
Somewhere, but not here.
I remember hearing Grand Junction. That's what I remember hearing last time.
Yeah.
I think I'm done with that.
That's good. That's a long drive.
I might have to go back one more time to help them fix something that's not my problem, but they're gonna pay me for that, so.
Okay.
So let's say we have, I must be really sick.
It's not you, it's me.
It's you? I know it's him. It's gotta be me.
Look at all those bugs, he can't be wrong.
Yes, I can, that's why he has all the
We're recording everybody. Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will kick off this meeting with roll call.
Mayor Sherman,
Here.
Councilor Gurmala, Councilor Klinkhammer,
Here.
Councilor Lundstrom, Councilor Spradlin,
Here.
Councilor Tyree,
Here.
Councilor White.
Here.
Approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or corrections for the agenda? If not, I'd look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the agenda for the regular meeting January 9th of 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor White,
Yes.
Councilor Tyree,
Yes.
Councilor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Councilor Spradlin,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. The agenda is approved. Everybody's had a chance to look over the minutes of the meeting for December 12th. Does anybody have any corrections or revisions? I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of December 12th, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Spradlin,
Yes.
Councilor Tyree,
Yes.
Councilor White,
Yes.
Councilor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Motion passes. Next we have visitors and delegations. We've actually got a few on here, which is nice. We'll start out with a high school tennis presentation by Paula Costa. Hi, Paula.
Good evening. Thank you. I really don't have just a presentation. I just wanted to share some information with the council and let you know that we're in our second year of our tennis program. I was accepted as the head coach for the girls program, so I'm really excited to get this program going. The biggest reason I'm here, and I would love to encourage the city to reach into this, is to apply for the USTA grant, United States Tennis Association grant. We just attended a meeting in Eaton last month, and they are very open into doing a 50% match to do courts in brush if that's something we choose to do. The problem we have as a team is we have to travel. We cannot host any home games. One, our court surface is not sufficient enough to do it for us because they have a little, correct me on the name there, the tiles? Tiles over the top of them, and we can't use those for CHSAA. I did reach out to Fort Morgan. Fort Morgan is willing to allow us to use their courts for a couple of home games, so I know that'll help for travel, less travel for our girls, so we can at least somewhat be home. And I'm also sounding like we're going to be picking up some girls from Fort Morgan to play on our team as well, as they didn't put together a coach for their program. So we're going to have some pretty high numbers. I think we're going to be around 15 to 20 girls playing on our team. We're very excited to get this program going. But I would just like to come, like I said, and mention to the council to see if they could look into maybe possibly applying for that USTA grant to get that 50% match. She's out of, like I said, out of Eaton. I've got a friend out of Fort Morgan, Paul Luna, who works up there. He also is part of the USTA. and they're on the board, and they've really been working with us like crazy to help us. We just applied for a grant in Brush, and we received 100 rackets that we can use and implement into our program, so we're pretty stoked about that. Again, we're only on our second year. We're trying to get things rolling, but I'd like to see our program expand out even into boys tennis down the road. I know that hurts the football guys quite a bit, and I hate to say that, but some of the guys do want to play tennis, which is great, but I don't like to tap into the other sports and take them away from them. But I know that that has been suggested too, is to start a boys program. But right now I'm going to focus on the girls because that's who I'm with, and I'm excited to be a part of their program. So your daughter's on our team. She signed up. I'm excited to have her come back. I helped coach last year with them. We had a great time, and I thought they did a pretty good job for their first season. So that's all I'm here for, just to ask and see if you would consider that. And I don't want to take too much time because you have the legendary Kim McClara coming up next. So I don't want to take any.
Take away
I
from
got a
that.
quick question.
Yes, sir.
Is that grant something that the school district can apply for?
No, sir, it's got to go through the city because it's going to be a built tennis court. They would have to resurface the courts, and that'll pay 50% of the resurfacing of the courts.
Okay.
They would have to add a third court. After visiting with Mr. Luna, he said that they would probably have to add a third court, but they think that they could help provide that to help cover that current one we have, and then add another one to it. So
Is 3 enough to host a game? I thought you had to have 4.
I think they'll let us squeak by with 3, but
Okay.
I would love to see 4 if we could do it. I know funds are hard, so but if we could definitely do 4, I'm all over it. So.
Oh, I'm thrilled that it's only 3 that we need. I mean, 4 would be great, but
Just makes for long days if we limit it to
That's
3.
true.
Because the number of
Absolutely.
teams.
yeah.
Absolutely. When you host the duel, yeah, you've got to. We have 11. We have to be able to play 11 players. We have 4 doubles and 3 singles. So, and then if you have a duel, so you're looking at 7 matches. So, the other
Okay,
thing
yeah.
is lights too, and I know the lights have they've kind of drifted off. I don't want to say drifted off, but they're older. Correct me if I'm wrong. They're pretty old lights there at the old tennis court. So, and we'd like to get those repaired as well. So.
They're the 1,500-watt metal halide lights that were put in 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And of course, LEDs are kind of the standard now, but,
Absolutely.
you know. that's
Probably
where-
costs $200 a minute to
Right.
run it. Yeah.
Pretty much, yes. I know, I agree, they do. They do, so. Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, so that's all I have.
Thank
Unless
you.
anybody has any else. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate your time.
Again, it happens. All right. Next, we have Kim McClara with the Brush School District. He's got a presentation for us.
Good evening, you guys. Thank you, our Mayor Dana Sherman, for allowing me to speak in front of our council today. Thank you, Paul, for that. I'm not a legendary. I'm just a simple man with big dreams, and I came from the Philippines. I am a cultural ambassador and a visiting teacher. I came in here 4 years ago with a dream to develop myself holistically and to be able to share my culture and to learn from the culture as well of the people around me. And I want to be globally competitive in a way that I could learn with the best along the field. So I have a project, a research proposal that I'm working on as part of my dissertation for my doctorate program. And also this is a part of my project submission for Brush to be considered, or Brush School District to be considered as one of the green schools in the state of Colorado. And I'm willing to submit this research proposal to the National Science Foundation, which I came up with the title Polyethylene Terephthalate Bottle Eco-Brick Project, a novel optimal solution for utilizing plastic waste, and a project-based learning application for middle school students based on the national or next generation science standards, which is the core standards that we use for science in the country. Waste management is a multifaceted problem that we all face, and which involves a consensus effort with every part of the community. May it be the city council, may it be teachers. Also, parents are involved in this major problem as well. Being a science teacher and being an earth science teacher, it is imperative for me to introduce these concepts with the aim of developing and inculcating environmental awareness within our kids, because it starts within our young minds that would ripple eventually throughout the future. There have been a lot of researches that proves that an increase of positive awareness, an increase of positive behavior with regards to environmental awareness and environmental change has a good effect onto our environment as well. And hence, I came up with this project that I'm very much willing to spend my years with. Actually, I have started this one since the beginning of my stay here in the US. 2019, I started this project just so that I could have an active learning opportunity or an active learning process within my STEM kids, within my science kids, to see how far we could reach into this goal. And I'm on my 4th year already with this project implementation within my class, and I'm willing to have it written down as a paper to leave a mark at least before I go home and spend my time in the Philippines. So next slide. So according to Economic Cooperation Development in the United States Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, there have been a lot of garbage being disposed worldwide, and just a few of these is managed properly, if managed properly. And it will even end up in landfills, incinerators. And what is troubling about this is the fact that it leaks into our environment. It leaks towards our oceans, killing most of marine organisms. And majority of people around the world rely on these fish products for survival. And what is happening within our agriculture business, especially aquaculture business, it is being affected by a lot of microplastics. These are degraded materials out of these leaking plastic materials out of bodies of water and out of bodies of land as well. And globally, we have been able to produce 353 million tons of these garbage waste. And if we are to target a sustainable future, we need to target solving these right now. Next slide. And it is imperative for us to strengthen our environmental awareness and environmental education within our schools ourselves. And like what I said earlier, it needs a collective effort within the schools, communities, to get a wider audience as to the importance of the environment. As I am discussing with my kids for earth science, our earth system works like a greenhouse. Everything is connected. If a greenhouse gets damaged, everything within that greenhouse, our earth, would get that impact as well. And if we have a transfer of knowledge that would start with our kids, it would create a ripple effect within communities, and these communities would create greater impact on solving climate change problems as well, especially plastic disposal and waste management procedures too. Next slide. And we could probably rely on the 2022 countries that are considered to be most environmentally friendly, such as Denmark, Luxembourg, and Switzerland. These are developed countries. Alongside with the US, these are also a great powerhouse in terms of economy and so on. So why not pattern our education system with these countries as well? Because we can. We just need a lot of changes within our, not a lot, but we just need to modify some bits of our curriculum in order to pattern and in order to mimic some of these environmental practices. And they started actually on their environmental education, and it created a great impact. Hence, they were garnered the right to become the most environmental friendly countries around the world. It has been a battle between a whole lot of countries, and these top 3 countries have a resounding similarity within and among them. They have a strengthened environmental education and sustainable education opportunities for the kids. Next slide. Within my research, these are some of my objectives. First is for me to apply environmental education with my kids in aiming to provide applications with the EcoBrick project. By the way, this is an example of an EcoBrick that we have been working on for the past 3 years. This is actually made out of PET bottles, and we shoved in some plastic wrappers, any type of plastic garbage that we can think of, until this doesn't give. This is solid, wherein you can use this as an EcoBrick to build certain projects, which are added on this presentation as well. And within the course of years of implementing this, I could provide learning plans that could be used by other science teachers, not only in Brush, but the rest of the community surrounding Brush, and even in Colorado for them to create this activity as well within their communities, because this activity is worthy as well. This is an innovative activity that also would encourage waste management within communities, and it also utilize plastic volume adjustments. And finally, this is my mother project within this project, is to provide a possible environmental symposium within northeastern Colorado teachers to provide awareness on environmental practices, showcasing different products that goes beyond EcoBricks, environmental products that can be used in households or in simple and many ways as well. Next slide, sorry. And this is an example, these are examples of the EcoBricks. I have presented these in some of international conferences in Indonesia and Thailand, which are very up into these types of activities as well, because they are they are developing countries, and they rely on cheap materials in order for them to build strong infrastructure for communities such as their communities in Thailand and Indonesia. What I'm planning for my input, process, and output, next slide, ma'am, is to come up with these projects. First, we'll start small with our school-based projects, where the students will be creating modules. That would be one of the targets of my next unit within the school. And if granted to have a whole lot of these EcoBrick projects being done by, or being made by my team with my students, we will come up with school-based applications and also community-based applications. That's why I'm here, because I wanted to show the community what are the different materials that could, or what are the different infrastructures that we can build out of these EcoBrick projects, like planters or like benches that we can put into parks. And we can probably have or increase awareness by putting up signages that these materials are made out of environmental friendly materials, such as these so and so number of plastics and this amount of weight and so on. And we've limited these amounts of plastics thrown out in the oceans or thrown out in any body of water at that. And my concurrent outputs would serve to be those community efforts and community applications, including our entry for Brush School District to become part of the 2024 Colorado Green Ribbon Schools, and those symposiums that would come in next. So I'm using this research project in order for me to lengthen my stay as well in the United States, because I want to serve this school district, my school district, which I loved and I appreciate. They have been accepting, they have been very much accepting with regards to my culture, with regards to my teaching practice, and they have been a very instrumental way in my improvement as a teacher as well. That made me become a globally competitive teacher by applying to this school that molded me to what I am right now. Thank you. That's it.
Is that your, oh, very good. Kim brought me this information, and I just thought it was really impressive. And I thought, you know, being able to bring this into the community as well as the schools, I thought was just kind of cool. But so I'm glad you came and gave your presentation.
Thank you guys for allowing me to do it.
I don't know if anybody has any questions for him or anything. Or,
well, we a couple things that came to mind. First was, is it just the educational piece that you're looking at doing, or are you truly looking at a project where we're going to try to build something?
Yes, sir. So since on my output for my research is a community-based project, so I'm tapping the community and the city of Brush and allowing me to come up with infrastructure such as the ones shown, like planters and benches, to be set up into one of our parks as well, to increase awareness as well, not only within the school system but also within the community, which is my end goal and target.
Yeah, your timing may be perfect. We just had a pre-meeting with our attorney, and you might be aware that the plastic sacks in stores and everything, that those are going away, but you can still get them, but you have to pay. But we'll have more information soon. But it appears that, you know, if anyone is selling those plastic sacks at a store, that they're typically going to be about 10 cents per sack. 6 cents is supposed to come back to the city of Brush for every one of those. And we were just talking about how can we use those funds in recycling, education. There's all these different things that are very related to what you're doing. And so we'll keep that in mind. It's going to take us a few more weeks to kind of work through this new law and how it's going to actually work for us. But there might be a longer term funding stream, because we thought about putting it towards our trash program, recycling program, education, administration, and where's Loranda at? Enforcement. that's a joke for me. But yeah, I like it. It sounds really good, and it's education, it's environmental, and we might have a funding stream for that. So long term.
And maybe we can set up some sort of a collection somewhere where people can, the kids can know what they can recycle, and maybe we can have some sort of collection community, somewhere centrally located where people can contribute to that.
Sorry, ma'am. There are very many variations of this eco-bricks as well, which requires a lot of infrastructures, engineering infrastructures as well, which I am very much willing to learn along the way. This is the simplest way in order to produce eco-bricks, but there are a lot of, not so complex, but it requires a lot of engineering materials as well. Like pulverizing some PET bottles actually, and eventually come up with solidified cement that is PET friendly as well, plastic friendly. So we could actually minimize plastic pollution. Well, this project is not a long-term solution for plastic pollution, because our main goal in environmental awareness is to stop plastic commodity all at once. So this is a way for us to solve the ones that we have put into the environment already, and come up with solutions to shorten the volume of plastic commodities and plastic waste that have been put into the environment, and come up with projects and innovative solutions to make that problem a solution, to create structures that would eventually create awareness, not for them to do it again in the future. And it's better to start it while they're young.
Mm-hmm. Very good. I agree. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank
you.
I don't have cards on me, but I would love to talk about something.
Okay, next we have Tyler Purvis and Matt Gordon with our Small Business Incentives Program.
Pass these out to everybody.
Paul wasn't lying. How the hell are we going to follow through?
I know, you got your work cut out for you.
That was awesome. I saw the big words and I immediately was like, whoa, I'm going to zone out. No, I was fully invested in that. So what Tyler's passing out is a copy of our policy doc for the new incentives program, as well as the application for you guys to check out. I wanted to open up. You want me to jump in? Or you want to jump in?
Okay, let me open up real quick.
Do your thing.
Yeah, so
Tyler wants to open up.
I do. I want the glory. Just a couple of months ago, if you remember, back in September, October, sometime in the fall, I come to City Council during a work session and let City Council know that we were working on revising our current business incentive policy. We have 3 currently in place. It's kind of a broad economic development. Then we have one that's specific to new downtown businesses, and then we have the facade grant as well. Historically, with the new business downtown incentive program, is that we've seen a lot of the businesses that we've given funds to sink, and so after just consideration and kind of analyzing some of that, a lot of it we thought tied to probably the lack of readiness and understanding business acumen that some businesses may have, and properly understanding the market, properly understanding how to operate a business with cash flows and different components. And so I spoke with Matt, and over the past 6 months or so, Matt and I, as well as Wes Cable from Edward Jones Financial Investments, and Kristen with Morgan County Economic Development Corporation, we worked on revising our entire incentive policy. And so what you have before you tonight is the final version of that we're ready to start running with tomorrow, that we're excited about. And so I just wanted to bring it to council so you are all aware of it, so you understand the components of it. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Matt, and we'll kind of tag team as we go over this.
Yes, well, first and foremost, on my end, just wanted to say thank you all. It's good to see you this evening. It's been a hot minute since I've been to a council meeting, so it's good to see everybody again. And thank you to Tyler, to Wes, to Kristen and partners for helping us redraft this. It's a labor of compromise and love, and I think from a bunch of different ideologies, we've created an enhanced program, really solution, that we think is something that will be taken advantage of by businesses in our community and hopefully be used as an attraction mechanism for businesses to continue to want to come here. I also want to touch on the name. I was taught during my internship at the city, so I blame you guys for doing this, is don't reinvent the wheel. You'll notice we called it the City of Brush Cares, and you couldn't possibly guess where we got that one from. But where I think I wanted to denote a difference was the term program versus solution. We called it the City of Brush Commercial Asset Reinvestment and Enhancement Solution. Governments create programs all the time. They do so many things and they vary in their effectiveness. To us, we didn't really view this as a singular program. It's a collection of programs, a solution, if you will, that can be used to address a variety of issues that I've learned about during my tenure as the executive director of the chamber and working with a variety of businesses within our community, and then of course Tyler's experience with a variety of businesses that operate here as well. And the goal of that solution is to address these specific issues that we've been facing, and those specific issues are essentially touched on, thank you, are touched on in the types of things that we're targeting within the program itself. Before we get too deep into the program, Tyler touched on this briefly, but we did have a few different types of incentive programs that existed previously, the Downtown New Business Incentives, the facade grant, but the last one was the case-by-case incentives, where we can't necessarily bake all of that into one program doc, because there's going to be creative businesses or solutions that come up in the future that maybe don't fit within a siloed approach, but a case-by-case example would be like the Agri-Park and offering Colorado Land Processors a benefit on tap fees, or the benefits that City Council passed for Central School to allow that development to happen more quickly. That might not fit into this exactly, but we are leaving and hoping this document open to interpretation and fluidity throughout the processes. This is not the final version of this, as I imagine. As more businesses start to interact with this program, we will learn about things that we never thought we would learn about, and then can place that within this program doc, solution doc, and application to better reflect those things. I would say the idea behind building what this looked like was not just what our individual thoughts felt would make sense for the City of Brushes. We did comprehensive research across multiple communities and ranged in levels from state to county as well as municipal incentives to try and figure out what our successful communities do to not just attract businesses to their community, but to also retain the businesses that have chosen to make that community the place where they build their businesses at. And that's something we discovered in our research, where the vast majority, I would say almost all of the incentives programs that we saw countrywide had nothing related to retention. It was almost entirely dedicated towards attracting something new. And that's great. New businesses are great, and they support our community in new ways. But there are some places that have been open for years, decades, that should probably be rewarded in a certain way for choosing this place as where they wanted to build their most success. And we allowed that within this program as well. Okay, so let's actually jump into, because Tyler touched on some of my notes, the actual program itself. So I invite you to grab it. But just I'll try and give like at most 5 minutes, because I know you guys got a busy agenda this evening. But touch on what we're trying to target and why we think it'll help, and then the requirements that we're putting on businesses to be involved in this, so you guys understand fully that this isn't just a cash grab, that it's actually, I don't want to say an arduous, the intention is for it to be simplistic, but that we will be requiring businesses to participate with us at a higher level to get access to these funds because of the increase in investment that you guys have chosen to put for this program through the ARPA funds. But what we're targeting is things like reimbursement for property taxes from the city, reimbursement for portions of sales tax, reimbursement for use tax, so if you're doing an expansion or something like that within your building, getting some level of that back. Reimbursement for all or portions of building permit fees to encourage new business, new builds, and reimbursement for code analysis to understand what needs to be done to your building for redevelopment, reimbursements for life safety improvements, sprinklers, electrical, mechanical, infrastructure in general, free architectural drawings, and then ultimately facade actual improvements that are done to the buildings themselves. A large chunk of this in our discussions, the goal was to not just take funds and then watch them disappear. It's take funds and then see where they go and then shout those effective and excellent projects out to people. I would argue that a lot of our previous incentives programs, while were marginally effective, they failed in some ways in getting the word out to businesses. Now, bring a horse to water. We all know this. You can create things till the cows crow, but if no one goes and does it, you don't know if it's effective or not. And so later on in this, I'll touch on what we'll hopefully do to get the word out, but I would say by revamping and allowing a larger base for what these funds could be used for, we invite additional applicants to be involved in what this program could be. Jumping straight from what we're trying to target to what we will require, Tyler graciously put together the policy doc and simplified everything, so it should be straightforward. But I would say if you have questions, we'll just hold them till the end, and I'll answer anything you want. Tyler, answer anything you want. But I want to touch on all these specifically just because we spent quite a long time trying to figure out what exactly would be required of these businesses to motivate them to want to participate, but also have enough documentation on our end that it's a valid program and that we're giving the money away to something that will actually be useful. So we will seek information like the level of capital improvement investment, so how much is being put into the buildings, if they're creating jobs with this investment, what the average wages of those jobs are, the longevity that they've had within the community, the sales tax generation, if they are a sales tax generating company or organization, property tax generation, selfishly if they're a chamber member, if they source their products locally, and if they've participated in energy assessments. And man, Kim could not have touched on that more perfectly. So I think it's a good example of the value of environmentalism. And then lastly, what we're calling is community reinvestment. It's an example of if they get involved in our community, either with their time, talent, or treasure. Do they volunteer at events? Do they invest in community organizations? Do they spend time building this place up in the way that they built their business up? And then giving them credit for all of those things via an objective scoring matrix. So I will invite you to jump towards the last page, where we've broken down in the weighted terms what everything would be valued in our eyes. We've created an internal matrix that can be used, and Tyler could share it with you guys if you'd like to see it. But that would be used for scoring every single business that applies, and then they would get points based on these things. We don't have an exact number that will equal funds yet, because we don't have any applicants. We want to see, as applicants come in, what those numbers look like, and the reason I bring that up as an example, let's say the average score of most businesses is 50. Is that worthy of funds? We don't know. But if 50 is the average number that we're getting from the vast majority of businesses, we don't want the funds to sit because they're not achieving some arbitrary metric that we've developed and they don't hit for some reason. So there is some leeway in how this works, but we do want them to satisfy something more important than these is, to Tyler's point, a level of business acumen. So something we built into the program that will hopefully address not only the objective scoring mechanisms, but also a way to show that these people will receive funds and use them effectively is we've partnered with a variety of entities, the banks and a local accountant, to provide some level of knowledge if a business owner is interested in obtaining funds and they just have never opened a business before and don't know what they're doing, but they're very passionate about a project. And you guys know as well as I do, many business owners start with an amazing idea. They're really, really great at making t-shirts, and they have no idea about P&L. It's just the way it is. So you learn about those things to then strengthen the opportunity for your business to grow. We will help guide you to that education through this program so you can still get access to funds in some way. If you are already a demonstrated successful business person, we're not going to send you to an accountant to understand QuickBooks, because that's absurd. But we will require you to provide some documentation either via a resume, a P&L statement, or a high-level business plan that demonstrates your acumen to a point where we trust that these funds are going to go to something and actually have positive outcomes. The last bit that I'd like to touch on, and this is where I'm not going to read it verbatim because I know I'll put you guys to sleep, but I would direct you to page 3 of the application where the breakdowns for every single type of incentive is given with dollar total amounts and the intention of each type of reimbursement that we're offering. But I'll read off a few examples. The facade grant being included in this was also modified. In previous years, it was a 50% match with a $5,000 investment max from the city. Not necessarily that we had data, this is more anecdotal conversations with a variety of people who had participated in the facade grant or wanted to in the past, was when we had it at a 50% match, it was prohibitive. And the dollar amount being $5,000, I think many of us have found out, especially post-pandemic, that all of those costs for signage, all of those costs for brand new building has increased exponentially. And so we've lowered the match to incentivize participants and increased the total dollar amount that can be put into supporting a facade grant application. Hilariously enough, the numbers in terms of investment remain effectively the same. So if you have a 50% match at $5,000, $2,500 is what we're asking up front. We're still asking for $2,500, but we've sweetened the pot by giving an additional $5,000 on top of what we did in the past to hopefully get people excited about that. And then I also wanted to touch on, and Tyler might be able to explain this better, so please jump in if you'd like, but I know it could be alarming to see a 75% property tax reduction in the first year from a company getting a reimbursement, but after various calculations, those numbers are not as high as we think they are. They're in the hundreds for the vast majority of people within the community, not in the thousands or tens of thousands that we would lose. And so that seems like, okay, we're going to lose a little bit of revenue, but that, hopefully, revenue that is not spent on property taxes is a reinvestment back into the business.
And to clarify on that, the reason being, if you look at your mill levy, the city of Brush is just a small percentage of the whole 100 and however many mills that is. So if you were to pay $3,000 in property tax, 20% of that might actually go to the city of Brush. And that's the only component that we have the authority to do anything with, because the rest of it doesn't belong to us.
Right.
Is that the entire tax amount that you're looking at to do that deduction, or is it what's above? I mean, does it, normally you always hear about you keep your property taxes the same, but if you make improvements, what you,
so this would
you get on top?
Sure. So this would be on a reimbursement basis. So their taxes, for instance, that they pay out throughout the year of 2022, whatever that is assessed by the county assessor, that's what that percentage would be tied to.
Not the increase in.
Correct, because we wouldn't know that until 2 years later when the assessor actually goes out and reevaluates.
But beyond these, I won't, like I said, I'm not going to read every single bit of detail, but I would invite you guys, of course, to please check it out and see where we've made some changes to maxes, as well as the list that I provided earlier. It's a breakdown of essentially every single bit of the program itself. And lastly, but definitely not leastly, advertising. One of the criticisms that I had for previous programs is just we didn't get the word out at the level that we could have got the word out. We haven't developed the full advertising plan just yet, but I think in preliminary conversations, one of the things that's going to work really effectively is some champion or person that can go out and word of mouth. I think we've all experienced this in Brush to a certain extent, that the papers work fairly effectively, Facebook works fairly effectively, but nothing beats going and talking to another person about what these programs are and then advocating on the program's behalf on the value of what that could do for their business. And so Tyler's going to do that. I'm going to do that through the chamber. We're planning on hosting it on the city website as well as the chamber website to help get the word out. So if people want to access the document, they could pull it up digitally and get it whenever they want. But then I can tell you, we've been sort of trickling out the information to people over the last couple months to just sort of figure out interest from businesses. And I'll be shocked if we don't have a series of applications by the end of this month or beginning of next month of people who are interested in pursuing projects. Whether or not they get money, we'll see. But I would say there is interest in not just the downtown, but in the periphery businesses as well that are looking for some level of financial support, either for a project or for something else operational, that this program would be effective for them. Beyond just the traditional posting on Facebook and talking to people, I am lucky enough to have 2 sitting radio interviews every month. It's not like we have like a zillion people listening in to me talking about the random stuff I do, but just additional options to help get the word out about those things. And I would say we'll have a few applicants at the beginning, and then we'll have a lull where people are learning about it, and then as the year goes on, have more applications going forward. And the ultimate goal, of course, is to support the business community as a whole, create retention benefits and attraction opportunities for new business, but also supporting those who have been here for a long time. And then positioning the city, of course, as an organization, you ready? I've been practicing this all day, as an organization that cares. Do you guys have any questions?
Looks good.
I think it's exciting.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for setting aside the funding for this and the ARPA stuff. I'm so excited to see how this is going to support the community, and I can't wait to come report back on the successes of this solution.
I do have one question.
What's up?
So is it businesses, what are the parameters of the businesses, just downtown, the whole city of Brush?
Yep.
Please, go ahead.
The entire city of Brush,
Okay,
before
good.
it's specific to downtown, but we thought that why make this exclusive to that area? We'd love to see reinvestment all across.
All over. Very good.
80723 within our zip code, so.
Okay.
And 50 or less was the employees, right?
Correct. Small business, the eligibility is laid out in there, what that entails.
Yep.
So small businesses, even some criteria for home businesses as well. If they export some product or doing something online, they have the opportunity to expand their business as well. And as far as the broadcasting too, we want to broadcast this throughout the region, so other businesses might, other individuals or businesses in the region who might be interested in locating in Brush, but also around the state, just to generate more interest, attractability of the city of Brush. And we have state partners all over. An example is Main Street Colorado,
Yeah.
Main Street USA, we want to push that around the country, the Economic Development Council of Colorado. There was another one I couldn't think of, but
Those are two good ones, though.
yeah, so they're gonna naturally get word out about those as well, so it just gets more eyes on Brush, just for building up our reputation, business friendly, we're doing something, we're moving forward, so we're excited about this.
Awesome.
And I wanna thank Mikhail as well.
Oh, yeah, shout out to Kyle, thanks for coming tonight.
Yeah, he helped us put this together too. Him and
Design
Boss
extraordinaire.
Marketing.
He is like a boss. This isn't a city council meeting, that's forever a trial. I love it. Cool. Any other questions before we take off? Or, I mean, me, he has
You're
to
not
say.
going to read the books?
Not for this section.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Please
Oh, it's for
don't.
later.
Thank you all very much.
Very good, thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right. Citizen comments. Do we have anybody for citizen comments? Doesn't look like it. Okay. For those watching live, if you did, there's a 5-minute time limit unless you're on the agenda as these three work. All right, so we will move on to management items. We have a resolution number 2023-1. Loranda Packard is ours. You're going to tell us all about that one.
By statute, we're required to each year designate a posting place for the notices for our meetings, which is the front lobby, right outside the front entry, and then our website. And then also for publications, that is the Brush News Tribune and the Fort Morgan Times.
So I would look for a motion to approve resolution 2023-1. If somebody would like to move and read that title.
You want me to read just the title or down here, the whole resolution?
The whole resolution number.
Should I read the resolution?
No, you don't have to read the whole resolution.
Oh,
Sorry,
just
the
the
title. I misunderstood the question.
Well, I didn't pose it very well. Let me get back to the, hold on, I'm slow. I move we approve resolution number 2023-1, designation of public place for posting of notices concerning official city business of the city of Brush, Colorado, pursuant to CRS 24-6-402 2C.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Spradlin?
Yes.
Councilor Klinkhammer?
Yes.
Councilor White?
Yes.
Councilor Tyree?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman?
Yes. All right, that motion passes. We'll move on to finance.
I move we approve disbursements and payroll for December 13th, 2022 through December 26th, 2022, totaling $324,330.71.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Tyree?
Yes.
Councilor Klinkhammer?
Yes.
Councilor White?
Yes.
Councilor Spradlin?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman?
Yes. Motion passes.
I move we approve disbursements and payroll for December 27th, 2022 through January 9th, 2023, totaling $458,298.90.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Klinkhammer?
Yes.
Councilor Spradlin?
Yes.
Councilor Tyree?
Yes.
Councilor White?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman?
Yes. Motion passes. All right, staff reports. First up, we have Tyler Purvis, Assistant City Administrator.
All right. Well, good evening again. Just one thing today, I actually got an email that I wanted to just summarize for council. I mentioned when Matt and I were up here that we are I didn't mention this, but we're members with the Economic Development Council of Colorado, EDCC. And as part of what they do in just advancing economic needs around the state in various ways is that they have a legislative side as well. And so with that, the email came in with a 2023 legislative session outlook for what's going to be happening at the state this year. So they put together 9 things. I'll just run over those really quick just to put that in your minds as what's happening at the state from an economic side and impacts that could ultimately work its way down to a smaller level. So in November, if you watch the elections, the Democrats got even more people represented there, so they're highly represented. And so whatever policies and things they put in place are going to be a big driver for most of this. So the biggest thing, of course, is the budget. There's not any additional budgetary space to establish new programs for this year and next year. However, if you've been in Colorado a long time, a lot of talks about Tabor and the limitations that come with that. And so the state legislation is always looking at ways to try to address that in different ways. This year, they're expected to exceed Tabor cap by $2.6 billion, with refunds of $1.5 billion and $1.4 billion in the next couple of years. It's no surprise, most government, the bigger they get and the more money they get, the harder time they have letting go of that. So hopefully that will not be the case, where things will change and money will get back into local investment as opposed to a state level. That's my own personal take, but my own hopes and dreams. Another one is criminal justice. Rising crime rates will lead legislators to have serious conversations about public safety and law enforcement accountability. Despite whatever they may come up with, the thought of our advocate working out there is that some of the Democrats will be hesitant to create new felonies and criminalize behaviors that can target disadvantaged communities. Affordable housing and land use, Proposition 123 passed in November as well, which dedicates a portion of the general fund to affordable housing. The legislator will have to determine how to allocate those funds. And I mentioned this, I think, last month or the month before as well, but the governor himself, they're putting a proposal together to modify local zoning ordinances in order to decrease density and encourage the development of multifamily housing units. A lot of folks believe that this will usurp local control and authority, mandates coming down from the state. Probably going to see some pushback on that as well. Education, discussions around K-12, possible modifications to the School Finance Act, although there's no really new money coming in to make substantive changes there. The environment, legislators will be looking for ways to reduce emissions, no surprise there. This could include electrifying equipment used in the energy, oil, gas, and transportation sectors. Wildfires, more legislation is expected to address the wildfire issue, including the increased difficulty of many to obtain homeowners insurance. Not so much of a problem out here, but you never know. Property tax as well. While I'll quote this verbatim, while Colorado homeowners enjoy some of the lowest property taxes in the nation, citizens are feeling like they are paying more due to rapidly rising home values in certain areas of the state. In addition, commercial property owners are disproportionately paying much higher rates, 4 times as much. Various strategies will be discussed on how to address that. Number 8 is water. The legislator will continue to discuss options for more storage, conservation efforts, and negotiations on interstate water compacts. And then 9, COVID recovery, ultimately still addressing the long-term impacts of that. Looking at K-12, all the losses they've had there, drops in college enrollment on many campuses, employee retention, remote work, availability and affordability of childcare, and then also tied to some of the programs that were put in place when COVID first came. They're meant to be one-time supplemental programs, but a lot of businesses are still wanting those things in place. So we'll see if the state responds on that overall. So the Democrats have the highest majority, or the largest majority they've ever had in the state. So the question will be, what are they going to do with it? And of course, what will Republicans, although a minority, do in response to that? So that's the summary. If you have any questions, I didn't write it, so I just recapped it. That's all I got.
Very good. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Next, we have our interim chief of police, Brandon Flecksteiner.
Evening. Thank you for having me. Everything's pretty much business as usual for us. We actually just started our cadet. The academy, he's attending Flat Rock Academy. He started on January 2nd. He'll finish in the beginning of June. We also just added our second community service officer, Roger Espinoza, so we're looking forward to getting him out there. So we have an extra CSO to work on some of the smaller things we have going on. So.
Very good.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynch, Director of Community Services.
Just a couple things. One, looking forward to Valentine's Day. Our next comedian comedy night over at the golf course will be February 10th and 11th, and we should have tickets available here in the next week or so. So so far that's been a big hit, and wish Larry was here because he has the names of the two comedians, but he usually brings some pretty funny people out. So looking forward to that. This past weekend, the rec department helped the Heath Becker family with the Heath Becker Memorial Basketball Tournament. In one day, they raised $11,000 before expenses and stuff, and so it was a great tournament that was held at the high school, and the money, the proceeds from that goes to scholarships to high school seniors and everything else, and so kudos to them for putting on a great tournament and raising that kind of money. Heath Becker was a former city council member here, so always like to keep his name in the spotlight. And then finally, this past week, we received a check for $128,000 from the Roslyn Needham and Jack Pettis Foundation. That money goes to various recreational programs and also to the golf course facilities and parks facilities. And so, again, I would just like to reiterate how important the foundations are to our community and thank them, wholeheartedly, because each year we wouldn't be able to put out what we do without their support. So just wanted to thank the foundations for that. That's all I got.
Good. Thank you, Mayor. Dale Colrick, Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. It's been an interesting month since we've last met as a body. We've had a series of storms that have moved through our area that have put down quite a bit of snow, something we're definitely not used to these quantities. In addition to the snow that we've received, we also received some rain that also helped solidify some of the snow into ice. We've had minus 20-degree temperatures for a while. It's been interesting. It all started right around the 13th with the blizzard that moved in. And as such, we had crews that were out trying to make sure that our roads were clear. The very next day, well, we ran into some issues with our snow blower. The starter went out. We tried to get starters coming in from all different directions, try to get that going. Plus, we had two dump trucks down, two of our tandems. While we were in the process of getting those repaired, we did not just sit back. We actually went out and windrowed a lot of these streets. And so we had a lot of windrows. Normally we windrow and we're picking it up right away. In this case, we couldn't pick it up, so we were able to take and windrow a good many streets, get them ready for when the snow blower was repaired. In that, because there was such a great quantity of snow, we did contract out with a local firm to help haul some of this off. They had live bottom trucks, and we were able to clear anywhere between 5 and 7 blocks at a shot with just one of those semi trucks. And so we were very fortunate. And the unfortunate part is going to be the last 2 weeks of December, we spent about $15,000, just shy of $15,000, just to contract out to individuals to help us haul this snow out. It was $4,000 more than what I had anticipated based on our budget. And then last week alone, since then we've had different storms. We had the snow blower go down one more time. After that, there was an idler bearing that kept the chain tight. Well, it got cocked out of the way, and as such, it was down for a while too, so we brought in some loaders to help pick up some of that snow. That was about $3,500 just for the snow blower itself, just to get it back up in operation. I still don't know the cost of the truck transmission at this point. 21st, we received more snow, and it came in one storm with 2 very large bands that just complicated our efforts on top of everything else. Because of that, we deviated from our standard procedure, whereby which we do our primary, secondary, tertiary roads, then we go back out into the residential areas, and then we've divided the city up into 4 different areas, and we rotate where we pick up after the tertiary roads are cleared. We deviated from that this time. We had so much snow and there was a lot of problems with people trying to get out. So what we did is we did windrow and try to clear out our north-south streets first, simply because the majority of the citizens in this community live on a north-south street and the front of their homes are facing that particular roadway. So the whole idea was to move away from the who was first and who was next policy to let's just get everybody going and get into where we need to go as best we can. With that, we did have some rains that didn't help out at all, and some other storms. Currently, just in the last 2 weeks alone, our crews have put in 150 hours of overtime just trying to get snows cleared out. The utilities, when they had the ability, they would get out with their loader and their backhoe and their small truck and try to clear out some problematic areas. 125 hours of that overtime was with the street crew itself, just trying to get things picked up. With that, if you can combine the 100 hours that our contractors have put in and the 150 hours that our crews have put in, we put in 250 hours of extra work that we normally don't do. And so that's it. I can't commend my crews enough on how well they've been able to get out there and get things cleared up. With that, we did run into several problems besides the snow blower going down. One of the issues that two of the biggest challenges that we have right now, the first one was the amount of snow and the fact that it rained, froze -20 for 2 days, just made it really difficult to handle. The second problem that we're having is vehicles on the street. People are just not moving their vehicles out of the way, and that slows us down quite a bit. And because of that, there are certain areas of the city, and I'm sure that as councilors you may have been receiving phone calls about them. Cul-de-sacs are a very big one. We've got people that will park in that cul-de-sac, but that really narrows down the ability for us to move equipment, and trying to get everybody in that neighborhood to move out of that cul-de-sac so we can get in there is somewhat difficult. And unfortunately, we have 3 on the west side, and there's several over on the north side by Williams. And so if I came in and cleaned one cul-de-sac and they don't do the other, I'm gonna hear about it. So it's just a matter of trying to get everybody on the same page, get your cars off the street so we can get in there and get this cleaned up. There's a couple other streets that we have that are like that, specifically Elm and Spruce. We ran into several problems where we knocking on the doors, hey, can you get your cars moved? We want to get it cleaned up. And it's like, well, these are my family's, this is my son's car, or this is my father's car, or whatever. And they don't have the keys, and so they can't move them. So, but until we can get people in the mode of moving those vehicles out of the way so where we can get in there and get it cleaned up, we're going to have some problematic areas. And so with that, I will entertain any questions you may have.
I can kind of say something just from my own experience with the moving the car thing. I'm lucky enough to live on a corner.
Mm-hmm.
I never know where to move them because I never know where you're going to go first. So that might be something that we need to look at actually streamlining. Like if you're going to do the north-south streets first, people can know. But it's hard too because I know I had my daughter move her car for 3 days and we just didn't know when someone was coming, and then cars get parked back in there, and then it's not even always our car that gets parked back in the way. So that's tricky. But I think if there was more of a
if we could do some sort of
plan, that maybe that might help people know when to keep cars off the street. Because
So back home in Minneapolis, we get a lot more snow than this, and how we did it back home was every side of the street. So like if you lived on the odd side of the street, you had to be off at certain times so they can plow, and then the even side and stuff like that. So I don't know if maybe that might be an option over here if we're gonna keep getting this amount of snow. Doing some kind of game plan, like, hey, you know, north and south.
To be certain, yes. When we have our typical snows around here, they're 3 to 4 inches.
Right.
And our crews can get through there, get everything picked up fairly quick, and it's not near as messy. We had quite a bit more than just a couple of inches. So this was a very different snow window that we've had. And be assured, February, March, and April is still coming.
Yeah, it's not going to be done yet.
If you want to get a good idea of how much snow we have, if you've driven around the city and you've looked at these private parking lots, you'll see all these mountains of snow where they've just been pushing up and pushing up. Those have been melting for 3 weeks now. And so keeping that in mind, and then you look at, we have 3 different places where we are able to dump snow. One of them is, and I do thank these property owners for letting us do that. One is the secondary campus over at the school district. If you've ever been over by Ackley's, you'll see that there's quite a bit of snow over there, as well as across the tracks. We have Colorado Ranchers Dairy that allow us to utilize their property to also dispose of snow. And then there's a Mr. Harris on the east side of town who has also allowed us to dispose of snow on that property too. We're running out of places, but I'm still looking.
Do you think, like, all the problems we've had with the snow equipment. I mean, we haven't heard of snow equipment in our budget for a while. Is it something that you foresee us needing in the future, or is it just kind of a fluke because we got
It was
so
a
much
fluke.
snow? Okay.
I honestly chalk this up, this storm was haunted.
Mm-hmm.
It was
That's
vicious.
Very vicious. And so, if we continue to have some problems with the snow blower, then we'll start looking at it. But I think it was just circumstance more than anything else.
So it should be good for another year, because everything that could
Or
happen.
2 or 3 or 4, right?
Everything that could go wrong probably did.
Yes.
Don't say that.
But I do want to reach out, I just want to reach out to the council to let you know that I'm very proud of our crews and how much time they've put in. We have our certain limitations. CDL drivers can only drive 10 hours a day. And so motor grader and snow blower operators can obviously run more than that. However, it was quite a workload.
They did a great job this time too in like clearing intersections where they did windrow. Like right away they were clearing intersections, so you didn't have like a problem with people trying to cross streets and stuff. That I know that's kind of been a problem in the past, but this time they were on top of things this time, so it was encouraging. They did a good job.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? The rest of the departments are doing good.
Thanks for clarifying, like, all the work you guys put into that, because I don't get a lot of complaints from people, but I did have somebody call and complain about snow removal, but I didn't have enough information to say, like, these guys have been out doing this much overtime, so thanks for laying that all out.
Right, and again, part of the problems that we run into is vehicles on the street.
Mhm.
And if we can just get people to move them, and like you say, there's an issue of, okay, what's the schedule?
Yeah.
A lot of times we don't get to determine what that schedule is.
Yeah,
so.
I get it completely. It's just really, it's difficult as a homeowner because there's only so many places to move a car when you don't have a lot of parking anyway. And
Exactly.
when you don't know where to put it, and then you always think you're putting it in the way anyway, no matter where you move it. So
That seems like this. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we have our finance director, Joanne Gosling.
I have just 2 quick items. You may recall that in 2022, we came to council with resolutions for the increase of water rates and wastewater rates. We structured those to where January 31st, the citizens will be seeing an increase to their water and their wastewater. Our resolution on trash fees, it went through 2022, so we'll be bringing that back probably February, March at the latest to have that discussion and do an increase on that as well.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. City Clerk Lorinda Packard.
I just have a couple things. The first thing to mention is that you have a copy of a letter from the Presbyterian Church. That was a thank you and praise to the street department for their snow removal there at the church. And then Monday, the 16th, is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We will be closed. We have notices out on Facebook and our website about trash that will be picked up on Tuesday. And then the final thing to talk about is audiovisual. We had a little trouble going live tonight, so I'm hoping we're live. I'll know more later. But hopefully everything's okay there. And that's all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Lorna. Dan Krebs, City Attorney.
Thanks, Mayor. Real briefly, we tonight at 5 o'clock had a meeting on the Plastic Pollution Reduction Act. It's a 10-cent bag fee. Real preliminary meeting. I thought it was completely straightforward. Joanne reminded me that no, I'm wrong. So, we have a couple things to hash out, but we'll get you guys more information at the next meeting.
Very good. Thank you. City Administrator Monty Torres.
Okay, 3 items. The first one, the city owns a hangar out at the airport. It's a nice hangar, pretty decent sized, and it's been leased out for over 5 years now. The lease agreement actually ended a few months back, and staff, we're going to be talking about that tomorrow, our staff meeting, just to talk about what we should do with it next. You know, should the current tenant, should we keep them in there? There hasn't been a lot of activity out there with that tenant. So we're going to just brainstorm a few things on what we'll recommend to the city council. Next item is just be aware, our Xcel Energy franchise agreement It's expiring in approximately 2 years. But what that means is this year we need to start talking about that agreement and planning for that, because it does take a while to go back and forth. It doesn't just happen overnight. And so we discussed that a little bit with Xcel Energy today, and then over the next couple of months probably we'll have our city attorney get on board with that and start reviewing it as well. We did relay that just one of the issues that we've had over time is just a lot of our power poles are getting older. You know, they're good and solid when you put them in, but they're 40, 50 years old, a lot of them. So we really think there needs to be a push on replacing a lot of those poles. Next item is over 20 years ago, City of Brush worked with the Brush Cogeneration Facility. That's the small power plant in town. When we worked with them to get them located here, we helped them with water resources. And years ago, 20 years ago, there's an agreement that we have that they're supposed to work with us on water projects, water-related projects. And one of them was purchasing some property to the west of the fairgrounds. And that was supposed to be turned over to the city years ago, and it's never happened. And the new ownership group says that they will start meeting with us in January, start talking about that. So we're hoping that we can keep our same conditions as in the past. So we'll keep the city council apprised of that as we go along. That's all I have.
How long is the franchise agreement with Xcel? When was the last time we did that?
It's a 10-year. Last one was 10 years, I think.
I think I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, it's either 10 or 15 because I've been here 18 and that was a couple years.
Probably
Yeah,
15.
it might be a 15-year.
Very good. Thank you. Mayor and council reports. Do any councilors have anything they'd like to share?
I'd just like to say, you know, I'm really excited to see the city and the chamber working together on the downtown stuff, and with all that, I'm excited to announce that I was elected to the chamber board of directors. So I'll be sworn in on January 26th.
What you can do with all your free time?
Nap.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I don't have anything either. I was gonna point out this letter, but Lorenda already did, and the snow. I think we only had a couple complaints through counselors. The city probably got more directly, but I think we all can agree our city crew did an amazing job. So, and I don't think we're done yet.
Don't be saying that.
So if nobody has anything else, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We will move into our work session.
Just a minute to shut up.
Oh, okay. I need a snack.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I don't need this.
I feel so bad for the crews. They just get something picked up and then it's snowing again.
another 6, 7 days.
And we weren't even finished, and so it just
I
really
know.
compounded the cul-de-sacs and some of the